What is going on, guys? I'm RSB and welcome back to another Minecraft Bedrock beta update video. Today we're going to be covering 1.17.0.52 beta update, and we don't have a whole lot to go over. However, there are some very important things to go over, just a bunch of changes to the quality of life on this update. So there's not going to be a whole lot of changes as far as blocks being added or any kind of caves and cliffs features. It's just more about perfecting things of that nature. So let's jump right into it and see what all has been changed with this update. So the first thing that I'm going to go over is going to be the powdered snow changes. The powdered snow is now available inside of the creative inventory. Using a bucket of powdered snow on a cauldron filled with powdered snow is going to result in powdered snow block being placed above the cauldron. So if we go into our inventory here and we grab ourselves a bucket of powdered snow and we try to place this on top of a cauldron that has powdered snow in it, it's going to place a block of powdered snow directly above that cauldron. And you can see if I do this in survival mode, it is going to empty out my bucket of powdered snow, making a powdered snow block here. And then we can just go ahead and scoop that right back up again. We can also use a bucket and scoop up some more powdered snow out of a full cauldron. However, you're not able to scoop any powdered snow out of a cauldron that is not fully filled up. You can also take this powdered snow and place it right back inside of the cauldron if you would like. Another change that has been made is cauldrons now fill up in snowy weather, creating a renewable source of powdered snow. So if this cauldron is outside and it has direct access to the snow falling on top of it, it's slowly going to fill up over time and fill up these cauldrons with powdered snow, creating a renewable source for us to have as much powdered snow as we would like. So that's a nice feature that's been added into the game. So we are done with these, let's move on. So some changes to the Axolotl. The Axolotl has been moved out of the experimental toggle, along with a bunch of other things here. Whenever it's moved out of the experimental toggle, that means that it's going to be put inside of the update coming out, and that means that they are happy with the final product and they can now move on to working on some of the rest of the stuff that needs to be addressed. So it's definitely good that these are being moved out of the experimental toggle, and we're now pretty much seeing the final finished product on them, so that's good to know. The Axolotls also have appropriate sounds and swim more often, so you'll see them moving around more, and they now have the appropriate sounds. The Axolotl can now be rehydrated with splash water bottles or lingering water bottles. So if you have these guys and you're trying to transport them by a lead or moving them elsewhere, then you can rehydrate these guys if they're not close to water. So if you're wanting to move these guys from one area to another, you can now throw a splash water bottle on them or a lingering water bottle and rehydrate them and pretty much restart their timer of them drying out. Why you wouldn't just scoop them up in a bucket to begin with, I don't know, and now you can throw bottles at them if you desire. So moving on here, we have a few more changes to the Axolotl along with the glow squid as well. They updated the spawn rules on the Axolotl and the glow squid, and they can now spawn in any biome up to Y level 63 instead of Y level 30. So basically, they are now able to spawn in biomes that they were not able to spawn in before, and they also raised the roof of where they're able to spawn, so they have an additional 33 blocks that they can now spawn on closer towards the surface, which means that they should be a little easier for us to find as well. One of the main things that have been changed on this update, which is one, if you just watched my last update video, you'll probably notice inside of that video that I mentioned that these were confirmed to be fortunable. However, they were not able to be fortuned inside of that update. They would only drop one regardless of the fortune that you were using. However, that has been changed in this update. Fortune enchantment now cause more raw iron, gold, and copper ore to be dropped. Raw copper, iron, and gold ore are now available outside of the experimental toggle, which means that these they are happy with, and this is pretty much going to be our final product, what we're looking at right here. So if we go ahead and grab these pickaxes out of here, and let's put it on survival real quick, and don't have anything in the inventory. So if we break this with a regular pickaxe, we'll have one there. And it looks like we're going to have one on every block that we break. As I went over in the last update, and if you have not seen it, you're going to get the same raw gold from both the deep slate and the regular stone block, and you're also going to get the same raw iron from the deep slate iron or the stone iron, and the same thing goes for the copper as well. You're going to get the same copper regardless if you break the stone or the deep slate variation. Now where the change lies is going to be in the ability to fortune it. So let's see, if we break this, we will get one piece here. And then we got 3 pieces there. Break another one. 5 pieces, so that was an additional 1. 6 pieces, let's break this here. 8 pieces. 11 pieces. 13 pieces. 17. So let's go ahead and try the iron. Got 16 there, and let's try the copper. And 23 there. So the fortune is working on this, and you can see that we are going to be able to gather a lot more of this material a lot easier using the fortune enchantment. It has been confirmed that they are not trying to do away with iron farms or anything like that. They are simply trying to fix the ongoing inventory issues that we have ran into in the past and continue to run into with the additional blocks being added into the game. So they're basically making it like this to where it's not going to overcrowd your inventory. And using the fortune on this is also going to allow you to get a lot more ore for your money, to where you're actually gathering a lot more in a shorter period of time, which is going to make it overall easier on the player. They have also added raw ore blocks, so if you have not checked that out, I would definitely recommend checking out my last video. I'll link that in the top right here, and then you can learn about those new blocks that they added as well. But it is another thing to make the inventory issue a lot less of an issue. So with that being said, let's move on. Some slight changes here. This is kind of just a small quality of life change. However, if you have a stone pickaxe, you are now able to use a anvil and place your stone pickaxe in there, and you can now repair it using either cobbled deep slate or with regular cobblestone. You can now repair your stone pickaxe. So that's been added and implemented into the game to make your life a little bit easier, especially inside of the early game. They have also changed the colors on the signs that have been added. The colors applied to signs are no longer barely visible. With that being said, all of these have white dye on them, and they also have the glow ink to brighten them up some more. However, I'll show you the comparison here. So to compare this one to that, this is going to be the white dye in comparison to the white dye with the glow ink. So it's definitely a lot more visible with the glow ink. However, this is a lot more visible than the first change whenever they added the ink to the signs. So this definitely does look better, and it is a lot better to read and a lot easier to read. You can go ahead and change the color to green. This one might be a little harder to see because of the green background. However, it is a lot more visible than it used to be. And same thing goes with the orange, blue, black, and all of the other colors. Again, adding in the glow ink makes the color stand out a lot more, and I think that the glow ink is just really the way to go, in my opinion. Moving on, amethyst shards, cluster variants, buds, budding amethyst, tough blocks, calcite, smooth basalt, spyglass, and deep slate are all inside of the creative inventory now. So if you look inside of the creative inventory, they have all been added into here. They have tough blocks, and they're all inside of their corresponding locations. Updated map colors for the glow lichen, azalea, leaves, and flowering azaleas. I've looked really close on this, but I don't know how you can really tell this different from a stone or a regular leaf or a flowering leaf. They all just kind of look the same to me. However, there has been a modification been made to make this stand out. I'm really not seeing it. If you look behind me, we have glow lichen on the stone here. We have regular azalea leaves, and we have flowering azalea leaves. These should all be presently on the map here, which you can see these squares directly behind. And I really just don't see it. So they have made a change to it. I don't know what it looked like before, but this is what they have updated it to. So figured that was worth noting. The Lush cave blocks are now inside of the creative inventory. So all of the Lush cave blocks you're going to find here, including the moss carpet, the rooted dirt, hanging roots, big drip leaf, azaleas, and things of that nature. So all of those have been added to the creative inventory. Some changes have been made to the pointed dripstone and the regular dripstone. So the dripstone and pointed dripstone is now available outside of the experimental toggle. The water drips from the stalactites. If you notice inside of my last video, the water dripped from the stalactites before. I don't know why this was added inside this update. However, this is something that already occurred during the last update. Figured that was worth mentioning. Moving on, the glow squid, glow ink, and glow item frames are now available outside of the experimental toggle, and maps now glow inside of the glow item frames. So I guess before, on the last update, the maps would not glow inside of the glow item frames. So if we set the time to midnight, you can see it better now. You can see the one on the right is inside of a glow item frame. The one on the left is not inside of a glow item frame. This is going to make really cool map walls, and it's also going to make lighting up the map walls a lot easier. We have some more changes to the pointed dripstone. The pointed dripstone now correctly gets destroyed if the block it was placed on gets destroyed. So if we move back here and break the block, you can see the dripstone falls instead of just being destroyed, and that looks like that's going to be their intended characteristic of this block. That way the dripstone can actually fall and deal damage. Moving on, the goats no longer drop mutton when they were killed. I don't know why they dropped mutton in the first place. I guess maybe that was just a placeholder. However, they no longer will drop mutton whenever they're killed. I don't know if they're going to have any other meat that's going to be added or implemented into the game for them. However, we know that it's not going to be mutton, so that was changed. Goats are now available outside of the experimental toggles. So the goats are pretty much finished and complete, and they're going to be added into the game. Wax oxidized cut copper slabs can now be merged into fully waxed oxidized cut copper blocks. So this just means that you can take both of the slabs and you can put those together to form one of the full wax oxidized cut copper blocks. Again, these are just many small updates, but they're really big for the quality of life of the game and making all of these blocks and all of the things that they're adding work the way that you anticipate them to. The copper and the lightning rods can now be found inside of the creative inventory as well. Another thing that has been changed is now that you can now successfully grow saplings on top of moss blocks. If you walk up to them and you go ahead and bone meal them, then you can now actually grow trees on top of the moss blocks. So again, this has just been added into Minecraft for a small quality of life change. One thing that you'll notice is underneath each one of these trees, the moss did turn into dirt. So you're not going to have moss underneath the tree whenever it does grow. So that's another thing worth noting inside of this update video. That is going to wrap up this update video. I know that it was a very short video and that there's really not a whole lot to it. However, this is just a very small update for quality of life updates inside of the game. There has been a few more minor things that have been changed, such as boats now break whenever they collide on the side with a cactus, along with other bug fixes for Pocket Edition, Bedrock, and a lot of parity changes to match the Java Edition. If you want to check out the full changelog, then go to Minecraft.net and you'll be able to find the full changelog for everything that I just went over at Minecraft.net under the 1.17.0.52 changelog update. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!